Friends, today we are going to explain all the episodes of the recently released series Pritam and Pedro. Now, let's start the story. Episode 1 begins with 4 people wearing burqas. During the night, they uproot an entire ATM and take it away. Then we see the next morning, where a boy named Pritam comes to the police station with his grandfather to file a report. Actually, Pritam's grandfather's old tape recorder has gone missing. It contained the recordings of songs sung by his late wife, who was Pritam's grandmother. So Pritam says to the police officer, "Sir, please find that recorder. It has my chance voice written on it, and it is the only last memory of my grandmother." But the constable says, "Last night an ATM disappeared here along with 2.8 million rupees. We are busy with that case. This work is not going to happen." Pritam starts leaving. Then, after thinking for a moment, he sends his grandfather home and starts arguing with the police officer, saying, "Only you can find that tape recorder. Please help me." But the policeman is busy with his work, and when Pritam insists, he gets angry and locks him inside the jail cell. After that, Inspector Pedro arrives, and he is also worried about the ATM case. Then Pritam starts shouting, "Sir, let me go home. My grandfather is alone, and it's time for his medicine." But everyone is so busy with the ATM case that they keep telling Pritam to stay quiet. However, Pritam keeps talking. Suddenly, he says, "Sir, if I help you find the ATM, will you let me go?" Pedro wonders how he could possibly do that, so he lets him out of the jail cell. Then Pritam sits at the computer for 15 minutes and tells Pedro the ATM's location, who stole it, and everything else. He even shows the photos of the criminals, who were a total of 4 people. Seeing this, Pedro is completely shocked and asks, "How did you do this?" Although he does not believe him, he still goes to the address according to the information Pritam gave him. When they open the shop there, they find the ATM. But it is completely empty. After that, Pedro goes to catch the 4 boys. Coincidentally, one of them is getting married that day, and the wedding procession is passing by from there. As soon as they see the police, they start running. But the police catch them. The information Pritam gave turns out to be completely correct. Actually, these people had stolen the ATM to arrange money for the wedding. Then Pedro has somewhere to go, so he says to Pritam, "Come, I'll drop you too. And on the way, tell me how you found all this out." While traveling, Pritam explains, "First, I traced all the phones that were active near the ATM at the time it was stolen. There were exactly 4 people talking to each other, so I understood they must be the thieves. Then I traced their phones and checked their social media profiles through their numbers. That's how I found out that all 4 of them were friends, and one of them was getting married in 2 days. So I gave you the complete location along with all the information." Pedro is amazed by Pritam's intelligence. Then he asks, "What do you do?" Pritam replies, "I sell vacuum cleaners, sir." Pedro cannot digest the fact that such a computer genius is doing that kind of job. Actually, Pritam has a story, which we will learn later. As soon as Pedro drops Pritam home, he receives a call from his superior, who says, "There has been a theft at the minister's house. Go there immediately." So Pedro leaves right away. When he reaches the minister's house, Santh tells him that the minister's wife's phone has been stolen, and that is why she is upset. Nothing else has been stolen. Pedro says, no thief would be crazy enough to come all the way to the minister's house just to steal a phone. The phone must still be inside the house. Just then, the minister's son Vinay arrives, and Pedro starts suspecting him. So he tells Santh, "I want to talk to the minister's son Vinay. The phone must be with him." Santh tells this to the minister, who gets furious and says, "Have you gone mad? Why would my son steal the phone? Go and find my phone." Pedro asks for the phone model and leaves. After that, he wonders where he should find the phone. So he goes to a shop and buys another phone of the same model. Then he returns to the police station, catches one of the ATM thieves, and says, "Confess to one more crime. I will get your punishment reduced. You only have to say that you stole this phone." The thief agrees. Then Pedro goes straight to the minister, hands him the phone, and says, "This thief stole your phone." According to the plan, the thief also says, "Yes, I stole this phone." But then the minister's wife takes out her own phone and says, "I found my phone with my son." What liars you policemen are. Seeing this, the minister also gets angry and says, "Aren't you ashamed of lying in front of me? If you couldn't do my work, how will you ever help the common people?" Pedro replies, "Sir, I already told you that the phone was inside your house. But you didn't listen to me. What else could I do?" But the minister angrily throws him out, saying, "Now you'll see what I do." After that, Pedro returns home and finds out that the minister has transferred him to the cyber cell as a punishment. Pedro becomes worried because he knows nothing about computers. We also see Pedro's wife, Stacy, who is pretending to be asleep. Pedro and Stacy hardly talk to each other. The next day, Pedro comes to his new job, but he doesn't even know how to turn on a computer. Then a female officer sitting there explains everything to him and says, "You'll slowly learn everything." Everything he says goes completely over Pedro's head, and Pedro keeps talking like a regular police officer. The man gets angry and says, "Do you even know anything?" Then another officer takes over the case, and Pedro feels very embarrassed because he realizes he knows nothing. After that, Pedro goes directly to his superior and says, "Sir, please give me my old job back. I'll go crazy in cyber cell." But his superior says, "Let the minister's anger cool down. Then you'll get your old job back. But before that, solve 4 or 5 cyber cases so that the minister gets a good impression of you." Pedro then thinks about Pritam, and decides to solve the cases with his help. He promises his superior, "I'll solve the cases. You just prepare to give me my old job back." After that, Pedro goes straight to Pritam and says, "Buddy, help me. You only have to solve 4 or 5 cases with me. My work will be done." But Pritam clearly refuses. Then Pedro says, "Then your grandfather's tape recorder will never be found either. Now it's your choice whether you'll help me or not." Pritam replies, "I'll think about it because I don't want to get involved in this work again." But Pedro says, "You'll have to." That night, when Pedro comes home, Stacy is preparing for a birthday celebration because today is their son Leo's birthday. But there is also a story behind this, which we will learn later. Just then, Pedro receives a call from a reporter friend. She tells him, a man has written in an email that today he will kill his wife and her lover, and then shoot himself. He also said that you'll find his complete story in a letter kept at the reception. Please show it on the news and tell everyone what a good man I was. Hearing this, Pedro is shocked. 3 people are about to die, and he has to save them. Pedro immediately calls Pritam and says, "The first case has arrived. Help me, or 3 people will die." After thinking for a moment, Pritam agrees. Then Pedro immediately leaves for the case, while Stacy is left standing there. Episode 1 ends here, Episode 2 begins. We see a man taking a gun out of a cupboard and saying to his son, "Take care of your grandmother." After saying that, he leaves. Meanwhile, Pritam sends a bug to the reporter and tells her, "Send that man another email saying that you want to meet him. Also send this bug along with it. As soon as he opens the email, we'll get his location." The reporter does exactly that. Meanwhile, Pritam and Pedro try to find out who the sender is through the email address. From the email address, they find the name Carlos. Pritam also says in the email, he said he would shoot them. That means he has a gun, and he also cares about his reputation. That means he must have a respectable job. He could even be a police officer because police officers always carry guns. Thinking this, they begin searching the records of police officers named Carlos. Just then, the reporter calls and says that the man replied to the email saying, "I don't want to meet." That means he opened the email. Hearing this, Pritam tracks Carlos's location through the bug and finds out that he is drinking at a place. Then Pritam and Pedro leave to stop Carlos, who is heading toward a hotel. Carlos first goes to the reception and leaves a letter for the reporter. Then he asks for his wife's room number and goes to kill her. A little later, Pritam and Pedro also arrive there and head toward Carlos after finding out the room number. As soon as Carlos reaches his wife's room, Pedro arrives and tries to stop him. But Carlos fires his gun at Pedro. Fortunately, the bullet doesn't hit him. Then Carlos opens his wife's room and finds her with her lover. Seeing this, he is about to kill her. If you kill your wife today, your son will always think of you as a murderer, and you'll have no value in his eyes. Instead, think about your son. Carlos's heart melts. He tells his wife, "From today, you're free. Live with your lover. I'll live with my son." Saying this, he leaves. Pedro has saved 3 lives and is very happy. After that, Pedro comes home with Pritam. Stacy says, "Where did you go?" We were supposed to celebrate the birthday today. Pedro replies, I went to save lives. Stacy says, are you the only police officer? I needed you today. Pedro gets angry and says, the one whose birthday you want to celebrate has already died. Then it is revealed that Pedro's son Leo drowned in a well last year. Pedro still regrets it, and that is the reason why he and Stacy hardly talk to each other. Stacy also had a singing career, but she gave everything up after marriage. Their argument becomes so intense that Stacy leaves the house. The next morning, Pedro calls Stacy, but she doesn't answer the phone. Because of this, he cannot concentrate on his work, and his mind is completely disturbed. After that, he meets Pritam and starts talking about the cases. He says, I have to solve many cases quickly so I can return to the crime branch. Just then, Pedro receives a call from a constable who tells him that Pritam's grandfather's tape recorder has been found. They quickly reach the police station, and Pritam is happy to see the recorder. But the cassette is missing. Pritam says, what will I do without the cassette? My grandfather only wants to hear that voice, wants to hear grandma's voice. So Pedro puts the constable back on the job, and tells him to find the cassette as well. At the same time, news comes on TV that minister's son Vinay has been kidnapped by someone. Seeing this, Pedro says that if he solves this case, then the minister himself will transfer him back to the crime branch. So Pedro immediately heads to the minister's house. After this, it is revealed at the minister's house that Vini had returned home from school, but after that he was not seen going outside. Just then, the minister receives a call from the kidnapper, who says that he wants 5 Indian rupees crore, otherwise his son will be killed. So he gives him time until tomorrow to arrange everything. Then Pedro comes and says that they will handle this case. But the minister says that this officer is not capable of handling anything. However, the head says that he is a capable officer, and will handle everything. After that, Pedro, trying to become the hero, starts tracing the call using the same method that Pritam had told him. Then they find out that the woman whose number was used to make the call had died long ago, and the kidnapper had taken a fake number using her Aadhaar. Hearing this, the minister gets angry and says, do you even know anything? You are not capable of finding my son. Pedro angrily replies that if they let them work properly, then they could actually do their job. That day I had already said that the phone was inside the house, but no one listened to me. I know what it feels like to lose a son. So I will give you the number of a man. If he feels like it, he might help you. And I am out of this case now. Saying this, Pedro starts leaving. Just then, Santh comes there and says that the minister has apologized, and has said that Pedro himself will handle this case. At that moment, we see a hacker who was keeping an eye on the minister's house. Episode 2 ends here. Episode 3 begins with Pedro bringing Pritam to the minister. Just then, the kidnapper calls again. Pedro himself talks to him, and tries to keep the conversation going so that the call can be traced easily. As soon as the call ends, Pritam says that there was no need to talk so much because nowadays a call can be traced as soon as it comes in. Hearing this, Pedro is embarrassed once again. Anyway, using his brain, Pritam manages to find the kidnapper's location. Pritam had also traced the kidnapper's main number, through which he gets the kidnapper's location. The very next moment, Pedro stations police officers outside that house because now they just have to bring Vini back home. Meanwhile, Pritam tells Pedro that he thinks Vini's mother is also involved in all this because he had been keeping an eye on everyone. According to him, Vini's mother had not uploaded a single photo on social media for the last 9 days. Pedro says that she probably didn't do it because her son had been kidnapped. But Pritam says that Vini was kidnapped only the day before yesterday. Then why hadn't she uploaded any photo for 9 days, when she used to post something every hour? From here, even Pedro starts suspecting Vini's mother. After that, Pritam checks Vini's mother's entire history, and goes to the data from 9 days ago to find out what exactly happened back then. Then they discover that Vini's mother had gone to the mall that day. So they go and question the driver, asking where Madam had gone after the mall. But the driver starts giving them rude answers instead. So Pedro gives the driver a slap. Then the driver says that Madam really stayed in the mall for 4 hours, and after that she came back home with him. Pedro uses his brain and concludes that Vini's mother had tricked the driver, and had gone somewhere else by bus. Then, from her chat history, they find out that she had gone to a resort. As soon as they find this out, they go to that resort and check the CCTV footage. There, Vini's mother is seen entering a room with a man. This confirms to Pedro and Pritam that Vini's mother is also involved in the kidnapping. After that, Pedro goes to rescue Vini. As soon as the kidnapper steps out of the room to buy some supplies. However, Pedro still does not find Vini. This makes the minister even angrier, and now he makes them sit outside the house, saying that they should solve the case from outside. Then Pedro goes directly to Vini's mother, shows her the photos, and says that they have found out that she is also involved in all this. Vini's mother says that she has done nothing. Instead, this man is blackmailing her because he was her boyfriend before marriage. Then the scene goes into a flashback where this man had called Vini's mother and told her that he needed 5 Indian rupees crore because he was under a huge amount of debt. Vini's mother refuses, after which the man starts blackmailing her, saying that he will make their photos public. Now Vini's mother says that before she could do anything, Vini got kidnapped. And that man is a bookie who runs betting. If my name gets linked with him, then the minister's name will also be ruined. That is why I am staying silent. After this, we see the same hacker who had been keeping an eye on the minister's house. As soon as a rich man arrives there, the hacker hacks his phone as well. This means that the hacker is extremely skilled. Episode 3 ends here. Episode 4 begins with the same hacker talking to the kidnapper. He tells the kidnapper that the police have found out about him, so he should leave that place as soon as possible. From their conversation, we also learn that the kidnapper had actually never kidnapped the child. All of this is the hacker's doing. After hearing all this, the kidnapper decides to run away. Meanwhile, a constable is also present near the hacker, and while wandering around, he finds a cassette that belonged to Pritam's grandmother. Seeing it, he becomes very happy. Then he quickly calls Pritam and Pedro. As soon as Pedro arrives, he puts the cassette into the recorder, but instead of Grandma's song, some other song starts playing, which means that someone had erased the old recording. Hearing this, Pritam becomes sad and says that even the last memory of his grandmother is gone. Now what will he tell his grandfather? Then Pedro says that at least they still have the cassette. They can simply get someone else to record a song just like Grandma's. The job will be done. So first they go to one of their colleagues, but she sings completely off-key. Anyway, both of them return to the minister's house. Just then, one of the servants tells them that Vini used to spend all day playing a game about killing lizards throughout the house. Hearing this, Pritam gets an idea, and tells the minister that Vini had exposed the entire house through the lizard game, because the kidnapper now knows where every camera in the house is located. That is why he was able to kidnap Vini so easily. Now they can only find some clue from Vini's laptop. Saying this, Pritam starts checking Vini's laptop. But he cannot unlock it because he doesn't know the password. Then Pedro says to call Vini's best friend because only he would know the password. So Vini's mother calls Vini's best friend and asks him for the password. But the boy refuses to tell it. However, as soon as Pedro scares the boy, he immediately reveals the password. After checking the laptop, Pritam says that Vini had been playing the Blue Whale Challenge game, in which children receive tasks, and have to prove how daring they are, such as stealing things or jumping from dangerous places, and so on. Hearing this, Vini's mother remembers that some things had indeed been disappearing from the house. That means Vini had been doing all this because of the game. At the same time, Pedro also realizes that his own son had been playing some game too, and perhaps he had jumped into the well to complete one of its tasks. At that very moment, the hacker sees Pritam through Vini's laptop camera. As soon as he sees Pritam, he is shocked, and he remembers an incident involving a man's death. This means that perhaps this is Pritam's past. Meanwhile, Pritam opens the Blue Whale game and starts checking Vini's tasks, where he sees that Vini had been stealing food items. Just then, the hacker's voice is heard, and Pritam realizes that the hacker is watching all of them. As soon as Pritam closes the laptop, the hacker calls him and starts threatening him, saying that he knows everyone's location and that they cannot escape. But Pritam gives the hacker a fitting reply, leaving the hacker speechless. However, they still cannot find the hacker's location. Then the hacker says the name, Kabir Sani, and hearing this name, Pritam is completely shocked. Pedro also becomes suspicious of Pritam, wondering why he reacted like that after hearing the name. As soon as Pritam reaches home, someone throws a box into his house. Inside the box is a pen drive. Meanwhile, Pedro checks Leo's PC and finds the Blue Whale game. He becomes certain that his son died because of that game, so he breaks down and cries. At the same time, the hacker calls Pritam and says that he has been searching for him for the last 3 years. He says that Pritam had changed his name, city, and everything else, but fate has brought him right back in front of him. The pen drive contains a video of a lighthouse. Seeing it, Pritam becomes frightened. Then the hacker tells him to come to Karvar immediately, otherwise Vini will be killed. Meanwhile, Pedro arrives at the cyber cell, where his colleague tells him that there was a student named Kabir Sani at Karvar Engineering College. Hearing this, Pedro gets Pritam's phone traced and finds out that Pritam is heading to Karvar. So Pedro also leaves for the same place. Then Pritam reaches the location given by the hacker, which is a hospital. There he finds a woman lying in a coma. Seeing her, Pritam starts crying uncontrollably. The hacker, who had been there all along, quietly leaves. Just then, Pedro also arrives there after tracking Pritam. Then Pedro brings Pritam aside and starts asking him the truth. Episode 4 ends here. Episode 5 begins with Pritam starting to tell his story. He says that he used to study at Karvar College, where there was a professor named Fonseca who hated students coming late. One day, Pritam arrived late to his class. So Fonseca humiliated him in front of the entire class. This made Pritam very angry, and he wanted revenge against Fonseca at any cost. So first, he hacked Fonseca's email ID and started checking it. Then he found photos of Fonseca with his ex-girlfriend in one of the emails. She lived abroad, and Fonseca often went there to meet her. As soon as Pritam saw those photos, he spread them throughout the entire college using a fake email ID. He even sent them to Fonseca's wife, Nini. After that, when Fonseca came to college and found out about those photos, he could not bear the humiliation. He jumped from the same lighthouse and took his own life. After her husband's death, Nini also fell seriously ill. After telling all this, Pritam starts crying and says that from that very day, he has been running away. Then Pedro says that he was just a child at that time. Whatever happened has happened, so forget it and move forward, move on. Then Pritam starts reading the news about Fonseca, and finds out that Fonseca had a son named Martin who was studying abroad. Then Pritam and Pedro understand that the one who is after Pritam now could be Martin. On the other hand, the hacker calls the kidnapper and tells him that now I will not spare Vini. Stay away from this case. Hearing this, the kidnapper starts abusing him. But the hacker does not listen to him at all. Then the hacker calls the minister again and says, keep the money ready and send it through Pritam, otherwise Vini will not survive. The minister says, how can we believe that Vini is with you? Then the hacker sends a photo of Vini's cut finger. Seeing it, Vini's mother Shraddha starts crying. Then the minister arranges all the cash and gives the money to Pritam. Pritam places a phone tracker inside it. At the same time, Pedro places another phone inside it to mislead the hacker. After that, Pritam reaches the location given by the hacker. As soon as the hacker arrives, he starts beating Pritam in anger. Then it is revealed that he is Martin, who says to Pritam that because of you my career was ruined. My father left this world, and my mother's condition became so terrible. Saying this, he beats him badly. Then Pritam starts apologizing to Martin. But Martin keeps beating him. Then Martin ties a watch to Pritam's hand and says, tomorrow morning between 10 o'clock and 12 o'clock you will jump from that same lighthouse. And if you do not jump, then Vini's dead body will reach the minister's house. Then he sends a message to Pedro from Pritam's phone saying, Vini has been found. I am coming. Seeing this, everyone becomes happy. At the same time, they are also tracing the tracker that Pritam had placed, which was heading towards the minister's house. But as soon as the location comes close, they find out that the tracker was actually inside a cab. Meaning Martin fooled everyone once again. Seeing this, the minister becomes very angry. Meanwhile, Pritam reaches the minister's house in an injured condition and says that there is no clue about Vini, but he took my phone. Hearing this, their colleague starts tracing Pritam's phone, and it shows the location of a building. After that, Pedro sends all the police officers to that building and says, check every room. But the police officers say that there are at least 100 rooms here. How will we check them? Then Pritam uses his brain and says, I also placed a small tracker among the money, and when you call it, the call gets answered automatically. You just go outside every room and sing a song. I will tell you the rest. Then the police officers do exactly that, and while singing, as soon as Pritam hears the song through the call, he understands that Martin must be in that room. Then as soon as the police officers enter that room, the room is empty. In a way, Martin fools them once again. Meanwhile, Martin steals a man's car and leaves. Now Pritam and Pedro cannot understand what to do. Meanwhile, Pritam also had very little time because Martin had told him to die at 5:15. Then, as soon as Martin crosses the toll, the owner of the car receives a message that money has been deducted. Because of this, they understand where Martin is going, and they head there. However, Pedro feels that someone from inside is informing Martin. That is why he escapes from the police every single time. After that, they reach the stolen car, but it is empty. Meaning Martin has escaped again. However, during this time, Pritam traces Martin's phone because he had traced all the phones that were active near the toll, and among them, the rest of the phones belonged to the people working there. But one phone was different, and it turned out to be Martin's. Therefore, now they start tracing Martin, and Martin is now traveling somewhere by bus. Then they quickly reach that bus. But what is this? Martin is not there either. He had already escaped. Because of this, everyone becomes disappointed for not being able to catch Martin for such a long time. Now Pedro's boss also starts getting angry at him. Then a message saying, "Turn left" appears on Pritam's watch. Seeing this, Pedro gets an idea. First, he tells them to keep the watch away, and says that Martin must be listening to all our conversations through this watch. Therefore, now we should fool him. Episode 5 ends here. Episode 6 begins according to the plan. Here Pritam and Pedro pretend to fight, and through the watch they let Martin hear everything. Pritam says that I will jump and give up my life so that Vinny can return home. Saying this, Pritam leaves. Then when Pritam reaches the lighthouse, the rest of the police officers are also hiding there to catch Martin. At that moment, Pedro remembers that the burn mark on Vinny's hand was not present in the photo of the cut hand that Martin had sent. Therefore, he tells Pritam through the walkie-talkie that something is wrong. This photo is not Vinny's. Then Pritam, who had already left the watch down there, says that the blue whale game is indeed a very dangerous game. But Martin was giving him tasks like stealing food and similar things. As soon as he says this, Pritam realizes that all these things are necessary for survival. Vinny must definitely be hiding in that house on Martin's instructions. At that moment, Pedro remembers that the servant had said the water from the tank was coming dirty. As soon as he remembers this, he is shocked. Here, as soon as Pritam reaches the lighthouse, Martin is already standing at the top. Seeing him, Pritam says, "Vinny is not with you, right?" Hearing this, Martin is shocked and starts beating Pritam, so that he can throw him from there. Then a fight begins between them. Meanwhile, Pedro calls a constable and tells him to check the water tank. The constable runs there. At the same time, Pedro sees Vinny and Martin fighting. So he also reaches the lighthouse. Just as Martin is about to throw Pritam, Pedro arrives at the right time and starts arresting Martin. Then Pritam says, "Sir, this is not Martin. I just started beating him because of a misunderstanding. Then he started beating me too. Let him go." Seeing this, Martin is shocked that why is he saving me, and out of fear, Martin quietly leaves. Meanwhile, Pedro's suspicion was correct. The constable finds Vinny inside the water tank, making everyone happy. Then Vinny's mother receives a call from the kidnapper, who says that if I do not get the money, I will send your and my photos to the news. Because of this, Vinny's mother gets scared. Meanwhile, on the way, Pritam tells Pedro that it really was Martin. He deserves one more chance. Pedro does not say anything. Then Pritam stops the car and forcefully asks Pedro to sing a song, saying that I will show this video to my grandfather. Please sing his favorite song. Then when Pedro sings that song, Pritam sends that video to Pedro's wife along with a sorry message, which Pedro does not realize. After this, Pedro quickly reaches the minister's house, thinking that now the minister will happily transfer him back to the crime branch because they found Vinny. But here the whole game turns upside down. The constable who pulled Vinny out of the water tank falsely claims that he solved the case. Because of this, the minister still thinks Pedro is useless, and all the credit goes to that constable. Pedro sadly starts leaving. Then Vinny's mother calls them and says that her photos are about to be leaked. Pritam says that I will do something. After this, at night, the minister is watching the news and Pedro's reporter friend Says on the news that we have received photos of the minister's wife, and she mixes the photo with the bookie together with some fake photos and broadcasts them on the news. She says that someone is trying to defame the minister's wife by creating such fake photos. Because of this, the case gets buried very easily, and the minister also does not say anything to his wife. Meanwhile, the kidnapper is shocked after seeing all this. Then Pedro arrives with the police and says to the kidnapper that you have one option. Just deny that you know the minister's wife and also say that I lied about the kidnapping, then you will get only 1 year of punishment. The kidnapper agrees. After that, Pedro calls Vinny's mother and says that your case has been solved. Now there is no problem. Then Vinny's mother also says that whenever either of you needs anything, please let me know. You have solved a huge problem. Now, when Pritam and Pedro are leaving, Pedro's wife Stacy calls and says that I have forgiven you. I am coming to you. And the tune that you sent me in that video was sung by my music teacher. Then Stacy says, wait, I will sing the full tune for you. At that moment, Pedro understands that Pritam must have done something. Then, on the video call, Stacy sings the entire song for Pedro, and Pritam becomes happy after seeing that I have found my grandmother's song. The next day, Martin calls Vinny's mother and says that I have sent your money back. I did not need the money, and please tell this to Pritam. Everything is clear now. Vinny's mother agrees. Meanwhile, Pritam gets the same cassette recorded with Stacy's song, and gives it to his grandfather, making his grandfather very happy. Meanwhile, when Pedro comes to work today, an influencer brings her case to him. Season 1 ends here. Friends, now tell us in the comments which movie explanation you want next. We will bring it.